Johnny, not his real name, tells this story. One day when he was a freshman in high school, he saw a kid from his class walking home from school. His name was Kyle, and he looked like he was carrying all of his books. Johnny thought to himself, why would anyone bring home all of his books on a Friday? He must really be a nerd. Johnny had quite a weekend planned, parties, and a football game with his friends tomorrow afternoon. So he shrugged his shoulders and he went on his way. As he was walking away, though, he saw a bunch of kids running toward Kyle. They ran at him, knocking all of his books out of his arms, tripping him and making him land in the dirt. His glasses went flying. And Johnny saw them land in the grass about 10 feet away. Johnny looked at Kyle and saw the terrible sadness in his eyes. His heart went out to him. And so he jogged over to Kyle as he crawled around looking for his glasses, and there were tears in his eyes. As Johnny handed Kyle his glasses, he said, "Those guys are real jerks. They really ought to get a life." Kyle looked up at him and said, "Thanks, man." There was a big smile on his face. He was one of those kids who could smile that showed genuine gratitude. Johnny helped him pick up his books and asked where he lived. Well, as it turned out, he lived near Johnny. And so he asked, well, how come he hadn't seen him before? Kyle told him that he'd been going to a private school up until then. They talked all the way home. Johnny carried some of Kyle's books. And he asked him if he wanted to play a little football with his friends. Kyle said, sure. Well, they hung out all that weekend, and the more that Johnny got to know Kyle, the more he liked him. And his friends thought he was kind of cool, too. Monday morning came, and there was Kyle with his huge stack of books again. Johnny stopped him and said, kind of with a laugh, he said, wow, man, you're going to build up some real serious muscles with that pile of books every day. Kyle handed Johnny half of the books, and they carried him to school. Over the next 4 years, Kyle and Johnny became best friends. When they were seniors and began thinking about college, Kyle decided on Georgetown, and Johnny was going to go to Duke. They knew that they would always be friends, that the miles would never be a problem. Kyle was going to become a doctor, and Johnny, well, he was going for business on a football scholarship. Kyle was valedictorian of the class that year, and so he had to prepare a speech on graduation. When graduation day came, Kyle looked great. He was, well, one of those kids that really found himself during high school. He filled out and actually looked good in glasses. He had more dates than anyone else, and all the girls loved him. Kyle walked to the microphone, cleared his throat, and started his speech. Graduation is a time to thank those who helped you make it through those tough years, he said. Your parents, your teachers, your siblings, maybe your coach, but mostly your friends. And I'm here to tell all of you that being a friend to someone is the best gift that you can ever give them. I'm going to tell you now a story. And he proceeded to tell about the first day that he and Johnny met. He said he had planned to kill himself over that weekend. He had cleaned out all the books from his locker so his mom wouldn't have to do that later. He was on his way home carrying all those books when those kids came and knocked him down, and Johnny came to help him. He looked hard at Johnny and gave him a little smile. And then he continued, "So, thankfully, I was saved. A new friend saved me from doing the unspeakable." There was a gasp that went through the crowd as this handsome, popular boy spoke about that day and the weakest moment in his life. Never underestimate the power of your actions. With one small gesture, you just might change or perhaps even save a person's life. We're put in each other's lives to impact one another in some special way. Friends are angels who lift us to our feet when our wings have trouble remembering how to fly. I'm Larry Johnson. Until next month, stay well.